Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to clean install Windows 11 without using a USB drive. First, you need to prepare a Windows 11 ISO file from Microsoft's official website and place it on a drive other than C. Now, double-click the ISO file and copy the sources folder to drive D. To make it easier to remember, I'm going to rename this sources folder to 10. Now, right-click the Windows icon, select Shut Down or Sign Out, then hold down the Shift key and click Restart. Select Troubleshoot, then choose Advanced Options, and finally click on Command Prompt. Now I'm going to open Notepad and use the Open option to check which partition I'm installing Windows on, and where I placed the folder named 10 earlier. Change Files of Type to All Files so you can see all file types. As you can see, the partition where I'm installing Windows is Drive C, labeled Windows, and the partition where I placed the folder named 10 earlier is Drive D, labeled Data. Now I'm going to access the folder named 10 on Drive D using the command lines on screen. Then I'll launch the Windows 11 setup by running the command setup. As you can see, my PC doesn't meet the requirements to install Windows 11, so let's bypass the hardware check together. Press Shift plus F10 on your keyboard and the command prompt will appear. Then type Regedit it. Navigate to the path shown on the screen, just like I did. Right-click on Setup, select New Key, and name the new key labconfig. In the blank area on the right, right-click and choose New, DWORD, 32-bit value. Name the new values Bypass TPM check and Bypass Secure Boot check. Then change their value from 0 to 1. Now close the registry editor, go back to the installation process, and try again. As you can see, we've successfully bypassed the hardware requirements. Now select the correct partition where you want to install Windows, then format it. Be careful, if you choose the wrong one, you could lose your data. And that's it. We've successfully completed method 1. Now I'm going to create a local account to log into Windows. So we've finished method 1 using the manual setup file. Next, we're moving on to method 2. For method 2, I'm going to use a tool called WinNTSetup. You can search for the download link on Google. Of course, you'll still need to prepare a Windows 11 ISO file and make sure it's placed on a drive other than C. Now hold down the Shift key and click Restart. Next, select Troubleshoot, then Advanced Options, and finally choose Command Prompt. Open Notepad and use the Open option to locate your WinNTSetup file. Change files of type to all files so you can see all file types. Open your WinNTSetup folder, then right-click on the application and select Open. In the first line, click Search and select your Windows 11 ISO file. Then, choose the edition you want to install below. In my case, I'll be installing the Pro Edition. Then, in the third line, click Search and select Drive C, the partition where Windows will be installed. Next, click the F button next to the search option to format the Windows installation partition. After that, click on Setup to start installing Windows. Click Reboot, and the installation will proceed automatically. So the installation using method 2 has been successful. Now I will create a local account to log into Windows. So that's the end of method 2. Let's continue with method 3. Let's continue with method 3. I will use dism/apply image to install Windows. Now, right-click on the Windows 11 ISO file and select Mount. Then, open the Sources folder and copy the install.vim file to another location. Once the copying is complete, hold the Shift key and select Restart to boot into the recovery environment. Select Troubleshoot, then choose Advanced Options, and after that, select Command Prompt. At this point, open Notepad to identify the location of your install.vim file and determine the drive letter of the partition where Windows will be installed. At this point, you should see that the install.vim file is on drive D and the target partition for Windows installation is drive C. Next, right-click on the C drive and choose Format to prepare the partition for Windows installation. At this step, type the command as shown on the screen. Use Index 1 if you're installing the Home Edition, or Index 6 for the Pro Edition. Once the image has been applied successfully, proceed to create the boot partition for Windows using the command displayed on the screen. That's it. Now exit Command Prompt and click Continue to boot into Windows. Method 3 is now complete. The next step is to create a local account to access Windows. Method 3 is now complete. Let's continue with Method 4. For Method 4, I will use the WinToHDD software. Please prepare a Windows 11 ISO file for me. Now I will open WinToHDD and select Reinstall Windows. After selecting Reinstall Windows, browse and choose your Windows 11 ISO file. Select the edition you want to install. In this case, I will choose the Pro Edition. After selecting the edition, click Next to begin the automatic installation process. That completes Method 4. Now I will create a local account to log into Windows. And that's it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting Windows tutorials. Have a great day.